Welcome to XYZ Wellness. This is Elisa, and today we're going to do a very grounding practice to help us feel a little more in our bodies and get rid of some of that stress and strain that we've all been dealing with lately. So without any further ado, we're going to get started on our back. So finding a comfortable position, rolling onto your back, maybe lying on your side if that feels a little more comfortable today. And just taking a few centering breaths here to start noticing your body, making any adjustments in your position so that you can feel nice and comfortable. So that means you might want to shake out your arms or your legs, or maybe move your shoulders around. We want to have a nice long spine. Feeling the back of the head resting on the earth, and you might even choose to place a pillow or something underneath the back of the head or the neck or underneath your knees. And we just start to notice our breath. So we'll be here for a few moments, taking some time to check in. Noticing how your breath feels right now. Not needing it to be any particular way, just allowing it to be. And then as you start to have that awareness of your breath, we can, if it feels comfortable, we can start to breathe in and out through the nose. So that, in general, that's the way we like to breathe in yoga class. It's very soothing to both the body and the mind. And as we continue to watch the breath, maybe placing one hand on the low belly and one hand on the chest. And when we do that, you might become a little more aware of how the breath moves the body. So when we breathe in, we can feel the expansion all the way down to the belly, feeling the belly rise. And then the ribs, and then the chest. And then as we exhale, reversing that. So exhaling, emptying the chest, then the ribs, and then all the way down to the belly. We'll repeat that pattern a few times. That three-part breath, inhaling, creating space and expanding the belly, expanding the ribs, expanding through the chest. And then exhaling, emptying the chest, emptying the ribs, and then all the way down to the belly. And just noticing as we have that diaphragmatic breath, that three-part breath, how maybe that might change how we're feeling already. You might feel a little calmer already, a little more centered. Noticing the full length of your body resting on the earth. So whether your knees are bent or your legs are extended, feeling every part of your body that is touching the earth and allowing those places to sink a little deeper. Giving yourself permission to relax and to let go. Noticing any areas that might be a little tight or tense. And offering your breath to those places. Allowing each exhale to be really full and complete. So every time we exhale, letting go of anything that no longer serves us. Letting go of expectations and judgments. Letting go of competition. And that could be competition with other people, but also competition with ourselves. Competition with that idealized version of ourselves, or maybe a younger version, or what we might think of as the perfect version of ourselves. Just allowing ourselves to be as we are today. Being grateful for this body on this mat. Namaste. So perhaps just a couple more breaths right here. Setting your intention or your sankalpa for your practice. And that can be any quality that you'd like to manifest throughout the practice, or maybe throughout the rest of your day. So that might be wanting to have a sense of ease, and you might say to yourself, I am relaxed and at ease. Or maybe you want to cultivate a sense of strength. You might say to yourself, I am strong. So stating your intention to yourself in the present tense as if it already exists. Bring it out there to the universe. And then from here, we're going to take a big good morning stretch. So if your legs are still bent, you might extend your legs and reach your arms overhead, getting long from fingertips to toes. And then exhaling, bringing knees to chest, either taking the hands underneath the knees, or you can bring your hands to your shins. We can give our legs a little bit of a hug, maybe rocking side to side or back and forth. And bring your feet back down to the ground. We'll keep our knees bent. And we're going to create some flowing movement for the legs. So we're going to inhale here, letting the low back press into the earth. And as we exhale, bringing the left knee into the chest, flexing the foot. Inhaling, softly setting that foot down to the ground, and we'll exhale, switching sides. Moving with your breath, using every inhale to lower, and every exhale to draw a leg in. We're just starting to create some warmth for the lower body. And again, you might feel this more into the hips or the lower back, and maybe into one leg more than the other. Always just noticing what you're feeling. You might start to raise arms overhead. Our hands can stay closer to the body. And as we warm up a little bit, either keeping that bottom knee bent, or you might start to extend that leg, getting into the hip flexor on that extended leg. And only extending that leg if that feels okay to the low back. If you feel the low back starting to lift away from the ground, or it feels uncomfortable, then just keeping that bottom knee extended, or I'm sorry, bent. So keep that bottom knee bent. The next time we bring the left knee in towards the chest, we're going to stay here. And you can either keep that knee bent, holding on underneath the thigh, or you can choose to lift that leg up towards the sky. And we'll start to point and flex the foot, getting into the ankle a little bit. Maybe starting to make some circles. We'll go in both directions, so just a few to each side. And lowering that left knee down to the floor, we'll bring the right knee in towards the chest. And if you'd like, lifting that foot to the sky. Still keeping at least a little bit of a bend in the knee. Drawing circles with the big toe. Switching to the opposite direction. So we're really getting into the legs here. We're getting into the hamstrings as well as we hold this leg up if it's lifted. And then lowering that right foot down to the ground. We're going to create some really small movements for the lower body and a little bit of strength for the legs. So we'll extend the left leg, still keeping that right knee bent. Low back is pressing into the earth. And we'll flex the foot on the left side, keeping at least a little bit of a bend in the knee. We're just going to lift that leg, maybe 1 inch off the ground. You might feel this into the thigh, into the low belly, and then we'll exhale down. So we'll do just a few like that. Inhaling up maybe an inch or two, and exhaling down. So as you can see, it's a really tiny movement, but we're getting into the strength of that thigh. We'll do just one more time like that. Well, you can pause anytime you need to. If that's too much, remember you might even bend the knee a little bit more. And now we're going to take that leg out to the side. So we're going to inhale up, Going out to the side, exhaling in, and then setting that down. So still very small, very slow movement. And even when we go out to the side, we're not trying to go all the way out. We're still trying to keep the hips level. And just one more time like that. We're going for quality over quantity, not needing to do a lot of repetitions. So lowering that leg down to the floor, we're going to drag that heel all the way in. And then we'll switch to the other side. Extending the right leg, flexing the foot, and again, keeping your knee bent as much as you'd like here. Lifting that leg an inch or two off the ground, and then lowering with control. Again, paying attention to your lower back. If any of this feels uncomfortable, you can take a break, or you can hug your knees to your chest. Doesn't look like a lot, but it definitely can add up after we do a few. And so this is the last one like this. And this next time we're going to take the right leg out to the side. So inhaling up, out, in, and then back down. So very controlled. We're not swinging our legs out. We're not taking our hips out of alignment. Just moving with that control. Noticing if you feel this more on one side of the body or the other. This is the last one like this. Lowering that foot down to the ground, we're going to drag the right heel in. And maybe pausing there with knees bent, or we can take our feet wide and just windshield wiper the knees from one side to the other. Walking our feet back into an alignment with the hips. We're going to come into bridge flow, so bringing hands down next to the body. Inhaling, first letting the low back press into the earth, and you notice your hips might start to peel away from the ground. And then we'll lift one vertebra at a time to come into bridge. Exhaling, lowering down. And inhaling, lifting. Keeping those inner thighs squeezing towards each other. And we're creating that straight line from knees to shoulders, really strengthening the low back, the glutes, and the hamstrings. And then exhaling down. Maybe adding arms. So once again, you have an option to lift the arms overhead. And then exhaling and back down. So if the arms get confusing, just leaving them out. Right now we're strengthening the back of the body while we open the front of the body. So especially if we're doing a lot of sitting, so a lot of us may be working from home right now, or if you're sitting in front of the television, binge watching TV, our hip flexors get really tight. So this is a great way to open them up, stretch out the front of the body. We'll make sure we have a comfortable space between the chin and the chest, keeping our gaze up towards the ceiling. So rather than looking directly at the chest or bringing the chin into a smushed position on the chest. We'll make this next one the last one. And then lowering down, pausing for just a moment, allowing our spine to come to neutral. Maybe bring the knees back into the chest. If it feels good, you can bring the forehead up to meet the knees. And then either choosing to turn to one side and make your way into a tabletop that way, or we can do a little rocking motion. So rocking up and then rocking down. So we can do this a few times. And I'm going to scoot front just a tiny bit. But what we're doing here, if you're doing this rocking motion, is we want to try and protect our neck. And as we're rocking, not rocking onto our head or onto our feet, so we can create a little bit of core strength here. So seeing if you can keep those feet up and keep them rocking back on your head. And if you're doing this with me, you might be getting a little bit of a back massage. So we'll do just one more. And then maybe add in a boat pose just for a little bonus. Legs could be extended or they could be bent. We can bring those feet back to the floor. So if you're in your boat, we'll bring feet down and we'll make our way onto hands and knees. Coming into table pose, placing hands directly underneath shoulders. We can make starfish fingers, spreading those fingers wide. Middle fingers are pointing forward. If you have any wrist issues, and coming to fists instead. Knees are underneath the hips, and they can always be cushioned if that feels better. We'll start to move through cat. So exhaling, big exhale, rounding the spine, chin comes towards the chest. And then we'll inhale forward. Exhaling, rounding, pushing that floor away from us, creating space between each and every vertebrae. And then inhaling, letting the belly drop, extending the heart forward. Do just one more round. And then coming into a neutral spine, we have an option to add in some core work here. And as we move on through this core work, if at any point this becomes a little too intense, just coming back to our cat and cow that we were just doing. So first, extending the left leg behind us. Toes are pointing down to the floor. So shoulders and hips are pointing down. I'm going to exhale, bringing the left knee in towards the chest. And then inhaling to extend. Firming through that glute, keeping the abs nice and strong, engaging the core. Exhaling, rounding in. Inhaling to extend. So we can stay just like this. Or this next time we can add in the opposite arm. So maybe adding in that opposite arm and then bringing elbow to knee. Inhaling to lengthen. Exhaling to draw everything together. Remembering we can pause if we need to. We can come back into cat and cow. Moving with the breath. Inhaling to open and extend. Exhaling, drawing in. Keeping those hips level as if we had a glass of water on the low back. Make this one the last one. Reaching out and then coming back into our tabletop. Maybe finding a round of cat and cow in between. Then switching to that other side. So this time extending the right leg back. The heel is in line with the hip. And we'll exhale, drawing that knee in. So it's more about that knee drawing in than the nose coming to the knee. So you want to use those strong core muscles to bring that leg in towards the body. Exhaling every time you draw the knee in, using the exhale to contract. Maybe adding that opposite arm. Elbow to knee. Inhaling, opening. Exhaling, crunching in. Moving with your breath. Moving with control. Feeling that glute as we extend. So nice little bonus work into the glute. And then just one more. Reaching long. Finding our stability back in our tabletop. And maybe finding cat and cow, or if you'd like any other movement that feels good here. You might circle through the hips. And then coming to a child's pose. Big toes can touch, and maybe let your knees be wide, inviting the hips to sink back towards the heels. Arms can stay extended forward if that feels okay to the shoulders, but if you're caring for your shoulders today, maybe bringing hands back towards the feet. Always honoring what your body is telling you. Honoring the messages of the body. Staying in your child's pose, or if you'd like to lift into a downward facing dog, we'll extend those arms forward once again, spreading the fingertips into those starfish hands. Knees can come back into alignment with the hips. So if you spread the knees wide for your child's pose, bringing them back into alignment with those hips and the heels. And then tucking toes under. We'll lift the hips to the sky. So hands are about shoulder width apart, feet are about hip distance, making any adjustments there. Pressing firmly into our foundation. So into all 10 fingertips, as well as the palms of the hand, then pushing down into that place between the thumb and the index finger. Heels are pushing back and down, even if they don't make it all the way down. And we'll keep those knees bent here as much as you'd like. As the hips lift to the sky. Chest is pushing back. And then maybe walking your dog, pedaling out the heels, letting one heel drop while the other knee bends in. And just switching sides. So if you're new to your practice, downward dog might be a little challenging, or if you have any shoulder issues as well. So just honoring your body, knowing anytime you need to, you can lower the knees and come back to child's pose. So finding that lift in your hips, engaging root lock Mula Bandha as we lift through the pelvic floor. Engaging Uddiyana Bandha as we draw the navel in towards the spine, following that belly. And as we exhale, knees come down to the floor. We'll uncurl our toes, coming back to the child's pose. Taking a rest here, or we can start to flow through our half series. So kind of the bottom half of a sun salutation. We'll inhale forward into kneeling plank, stacking shoulders over wrists, and then lowering with control, maybe all the way down to the ground, or you can pause halfway in your crocodile, your chaturanga push-up, and then we'll all lower all the way down to the floor. Knees might lift slightly away from the floor, elbows are drawing down towards the heel. So we'll pause here for just a moment, feeling that length in the spine. Staying here, or we can lift the chin and the chest, coming into a baby cobra. So not worrying about lifting all the way up, but allowing the spine to do the work. Hands might even be off the floor here, so you can feel that strength in the spine. We'll exhale, forehead down, and now pushing up into our tabletop, and we'll exhale back. So we're going to turn that into a flow. Inhaling forward, kneeling plank or table. And if we're in kneeling plank, we want to think about stacking shoulders over wrists. We're lifting through the belly. So rather than sagging through the hips and hammocking, we're nice and sturdy, like a strong plank of wood. We'll exhale, maybe pausing in your push-up, coming all the way down, inhaling to lift, baby cobra, forehead back down, and then pushing that floor away from us, coming back to child's pose. So as we move through this a few times, we can customize it. So you can leave that baby cobra out. You can modify your push-up, or you can leave your push-up out. Or if the push-up's a little challenging, I'll show you another option. So rather than being more extended in your kneeling plank, bringing knees back in more into the tabletop, and then finding your push-up here. So customizing this flow to fit your body and what you need right now. Adding and subtracting as you're moving through your flow. So remembering we have that option for our tabletop push-up. And if you're adding any push-up, making sure that we have, when we come back to that tabletop push-up, You want to have the arms tucked in towards the body and lowering the upper body with control. So it's not just about getting down to the floor, it's about moving with strength and control. Whether you're in tabletop like this or you're kneeling plank, you want to lower the upper body and lift the upper body, all with that strength. If that's too much for today, knowing we can leave that push-up out. So we might have a simple flow from child's pose to kneeling plank. Especially if you're getting tired, you might come back to this child's pose, kneeling plank combo. So we'll do just one more round of any variation. And then we'll come to meet in a child's pose. This time bringing hands back towards the feet, releasing the wrists a little bit, maybe even twirling through the wrists, giving them a break. And extending arms forward. We're going to walk to the top of our mat. So you can do that from your child's pose, or we can lift to a downward facing dog, lifting hips to the sky. And then as we inhale, we'll look forward. And exhaling, we'll take a walk to the front of our mats, coming into forward fold. Softening both knees, we'll inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhaling, hands come to the heart. Pausing as we allow our gaze to come out over the fingertips. Feeling our feet rooting into the earth, finding all four corners of the feet pressing down into the earth, and maybe bringing arms down alongside the body. So we'll roll those shoulders back and down. Keeping a soft bend in the knees as we firm the thighs, and still having that Mula Bandha, that root lock that we found in downward facing dog. So hugging inner thighs towards each other, hugging, lifting through the pelvic floor. And that's going to help us harness that energy and maybe even grow just a little bit taller. From here, we're going to move through some sun salutations. We'll start with a modified version. Inhaling, reaching arms to the sky. Exhaling, hinging at the hips, keeping those knees bent, coming into forward fold. We'll inhale to look forward. As we exhale, bowing the top of the head towards the floor, we'll separate foot back, lowering the knee down to the floor, untucking those toes. And then stepping the left knee back to meet the right, we'll come into a child's pose. Option to stay here or to add in that vinyasa that we were just exploring, that half series flow. Any variation that you'd like. So remembering it could be child's pose to kneeling plank, or we could add in that cobra pose. Coming back into child's pose, we'll all meet here. And on our next in-breath, stepping the right foot to the top of the mat. Coming into low lunge, right knee is over the ankle. Tucking the left toes under, we'll lift the back knee. And stepping into our forward fold, crown of the head towards the floor. Keeping knees bent as much as you'd like. And we'll inhale halfway, coming into monkey pose. Shoulders drawing in towards each other. And we're keeping the spine long, so rather than worrying about reaching the floor, we're thinking about lengthening through the spine. Exhaling, hands come to the floor, engaging that core muscle as we keep the knees bent. So all the core muscles are drawing in, creating that core stability as we inhale, sweeping up, reverse swan dive. Exhaling, we'll sit into chair pose, sitting into an imaginary chair as we let the weight of the body come towards the heels. Inhaling, lifting. Exhaling, leading with the heart as the swan dive, keeping those knees soft. We'll inhale halfway, monkey pose, lengthening the spine. Hands can be on our shins, or if you'd like, on your blocks. Exhaling, forward fold, still keeping those knees bent. We'll step the left foot back this time, lowering the knee down to the ground. And either keeping your hands on the floor, or if you'd like, bringing them to blocks. So this time we have an option. We can keep our hands low, or we might choose to lift the arms. Either reaching the arms towards the sky, or bringing your hands to prayer. Maybe noticing that stretch into the hip flexor on the back leg as we stay here just a tiny bit longer. Maybe choosing to lift those arms up, and then we'll exhale, hands come to the floor. We'll step the right foot back to meet the left, coming into child's pose, and either staying here or adding in your flow. And remembering, we don't need to have the exact same flow every time. We might choose to switch it up a little bit depending on how we're feeling. And then meeting in a child's pose, noticing your breath. On our next in-breath, we will step the left foot to the top of the mat, coming to that low lunge. Left knee is over the ankle. And again, hands can stay low. You might walk them up that front thigh, or any variation. Exhaling, hands come to the floor. We'll tuck the rear toes under, lifting the back knee away from the ground. Heel goes towards the back wall. And then stepping into a forward fold. Crown the head down, keeping knees soft. We'll inhale to lengthen the spine. Abs are nice and tight. Engaging that belly, engaging that core. And then exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to sweep up. Exhaling, we'll sit into those strong legs, sitting into that imaginary chair. Drawing navel in. Then inhaling up. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to lengthen the spine. Hands stay low or on the shins. Exhaling, forward fold. Stepping the right foot back this time. And choosing to either keep that knee lifted, or if you'd like, you can lower to the ground one more time. Hands can be on our blocks. So the blocks can aid in stability, but we can also think about hugging inner thighs together. So thinking about scissoring your legs and keeping hands low or sweeping arms to the sky into a crescent lunge. Wherever you feel most stable and maybe a little bit challenged. Exhaling. We're going to bring the right hand to the floor. We're going to take a twist here. So right hand can come to the floor, or you might choose to place your right hand on a block or a couch cushion or maybe a book. And that's going to help give us a little lift, bringing the floor a little bit closer to us. We'll inhale, lengthening the spine. And then as we exhale, twisting to the left. So only adding that twist if that feels appropriate for today. Looking up or looking down. And then bringing both hands to the floor. We're in our lunge. And we'll step the left foot back, coming into a downward facing dog or child's pose. Adding in a flow, if that's appropriate for this round. So we might go from downward facing dog to plank on toes, or we could lower knees down to the floor. Maybe coming forward, down to a crocodile, and then lifting into an up dog or a cobra pose. Flipping the toes to come back into a downward facing dog, or into child's pose. On the next in-breath, we'll step the right foot between the hands, finding either a low lunge with that back knee on the ground, or that knee can be lifted. Option of hands on our blocks, the floor, or we could lift. So if we are lifting, we could have arms parallel and up towards the sky, fingertips reaching up. Hands could be a prayer. If you'd like to add that twist in, we'll bring that left hand to the ground or to our block. Inhaling to lengthen, extending the spine, and then exhaling, we'll twist. Right arm can be lifted. Or if that's too much on the shoulder, bring the hand to the low back. Back knee can be on the floor or it can be lifted. Exhaling, bringing both hands to the floor. If the back knee is on the ground, we'll tuck the toes under, lifting the knee, and then we'll step into forward fold. Inhaling halfway, monkey pose. Exhaling, melting, letting the belly rest on the legs. Inhaling, we'll sweep up. And exhaling, finding chair pose. We'll do one more round of our sun salutation, selecting the options that feel good to you as we come into our forward fold. Inhaling to look forward. Exhaling, crown the head towards the ground. And this time we'll step the left foot back. Option to keep the knee lifted or on the ground. Inhaling, reaching arms to the sky. Or bringing hands wherever feels good to you. If you have that back knee lifted, keeping the heel pressing towards the back wall. Option for that twist once again, so maybe bringing that left hand inside of the right foot, and then exhaling the twist. Turning your gaze up or down, keeping that neck nice and safe. Exhaling, right hand comes to the floor. We'll step the right foot back. So again, choice to move or to stay still. Letting go of any need to do the same as you did before. Honoring what your body needs in this moment. Coming back to meet in child's pose, down dog, if you chose to flow. Finding that lift in the pelvic floor. And then using our strong abdominals as we step the left foot to the top of the mat. Finding either a low lunge or a high lunge. Setting your gaze, relaxing the jaw. And then if you'd like, bring your right hand to the floor or any support. And then exhaling to twist. Twists are very healthy for our digestion. Help bring us out on the inside. Bringing that left hand down. If the back knee is on the floor, we'll lift the knee by tucking the toes. And then stepping into a forward fold. Feeling that hamstring stretch. So knees can be bent here as much as you'd like. We'll inhale, lengthening the spine. Keeping our gaze down to the floor. Exhaling. And then big inhale. Reverse swan dive. Exhaling, hands come to the heart and sink into chair pose. Inhaling, lift. And then exhaling, bring arms down alongside the body. And then to prayer. So we're going to step the left foot back, coming into warrior one. Right foot is facing the top of the mat. Left foot's at an angle. We'll square our shoulders to the top of our mat. Inhaling those arms up. Making sure the left heel is pressing into the ground. So both feet have equal weight. We want to make sure that the back heel is down. So sometimes in warrior one, if we've taken too big of a stance or too wide of a stance, you might find that we're lifting that heel away from the ground. So maybe walking that foot in, and if we need a little bit of an adjustment so that the left heel can press down. Here we'll inhale. And then exhale, we're going to hinge forward, coming into pyramid pose. So for pyramid, it might be appropriate to have our blocks nearby. And that right knee, the front knee, can be bent as much as you'd like. So if there's any tightness in the back of that thigh, bending that knee a little more. Hands can come to the thigh, to our shin or to our blocks. Remembering that there's nothing magical about the floor. So I'm not worried about getting all the way down to the ground. I'm thinking about that length in the spine, the same length that we had in monkey pose. So from here, we're going to have another option. If this is enough, you can bend that front knee, coming back into your warrior one, so lifting back up. Or you can actually bend the knees a little further and either placing blocks forward, bring hands to the floor, and we can lift that left foot, that left leg to the sky, coming into a standing split. Choosing to stay right here, or we can turn this into a half moon pose by bringing that left hand first to the hip, maybe to the sky. And now we'll open that left leg out to the side, lifting up, and lifting the heart, opening the heart towards the sky. And bringing that left hand, we'll square the hips back to the floor. We'll bring the left foot down, walking our hands up that front thigh. Coming back into warrior one. Setting our gaze. A big step coming into mountain pose at the front of our mats. So I'm going to flip to the other side. But you can stay where you are. We'll do that on the other side. So this time, right foot steps back into warrior one. Left foot is facing the top, and the right foot's at an angle. So remember, you have equal weight in both legs. We'll square the shoulders to the top of the mat, finding your warrior one. So we're finding the strength and the power of a warrior here. You might feel a bit of strength into that right glute, sitting into that front thigh, engaging through the core, feeling nice and strong through your core center. We're going to turn this into our pyramid pose. So inhaling, straightening that front leg, and then as we exhale, hinging at the hips. So if you need to, you can always step that rear foot in a little bit. You want to keep both thighs hugging in towards each other. That front knee can be bent a little or a lot. And we have those options for hands. So hands could come to thigh, to your shin, or maybe to your blocks. Keeping the whole length of the spine all the way to the top of the head, nice and long. And then remembering, from here we can either bend that front knee coming back into our warrior one, so walking the hands up that front thigh, bending the knee. Or we can bend that knee even deeper, bringing hands to our blocks or to the floor, lifting right leg to the sky. So first finding a standing split with both hips level, not worrying about how high that right foot goes. Or we can turn this into our balancing half moon pose with the left hand on the floor or block, starting to rotate that right hip out to the sky. The right hand can come to the hip or opening and turning those toes away from the body, flexing that foot. So we're getting a nice hip opener here. And then when you're ready, squaring the hips back to the floor once again, bending the front knee, and we'll step that right foot gently onto the earth, walking hands in, and then up that front thigh into warrior one. Taking a breath as we relax our gaze, relax the jaw. We'll step into our mountain pose. And then we're going to get ready for a little more of a standing balance. So we did have a balance there if you explored the standing split and the half moon with me, but now we're going to do a little more upright of a balance. So for today, we're going to explore warrior three. So I'm going to start in this direction with the right foot forward. So a couple of options. You could actually start in your mountain pose with that left foot back, squaring the body forward, or you can have a little bit of a turnout like our warrior one. Hands could be at prayer, or if you'd like even more balance, bring arms out towards the side. You could be doing this in front of a wall with hands on the wall. And as we start to turn this into more of a balance, maybe coming onto those rear toes. Both knees have at least a little bit of a bend. Perhaps staying here, or if you'd like, starting to extend the body, lifting that back leg, bringing it parallel to the floor, if that's possible. If not, just lifting it an inch or two off the ground. Maybe just resting those toes on the ground. Hands could stay at prayer or extending forward. Another option would be if we have our blocks nearby, we could have them framing that front foot and bring hands down to the blocks. I'll show you that on the other side. So reaching long, using that strong core center. If you fall over, then just revisiting your pose. And then we'll come up with control, maybe even lifting that front knee. And then we'll kind of give ourselves a little counter movement, maybe shaking the hands, circling the hips. So we'll do that warrior three on the other side. And again, you might want your blocks. So starting either in a warrior one pose with the left foot forward, right foot at the angle, or you can have the hips more square, because that's where we're heading, is having those hips more square to each other. We can come onto the rear toes, creating some strength into that rear glute. And for some of us, this might be where we want to stay for our balance. So if you want to stay here, knowing that this is a perfectly awesome place to be, knowing that it doesn't matter what our final pose looks like. We're always honoring what the body has to give to us today, so not needing our pose to look like anybody else's. And only if you want some more, maybe starting to hinge forward, lifting that right foot away from the floor, keeping hands at the heart, or extending them forward. They can be out to the side, or if you'd like, you have those blocks, so you can bring your hands to the blocks. The key here is we want to keep that right heel in line with the hip if we're lifting it. So it could be down lower if it's too much to have it lifted. But if you have it lifted, we're not trying to hyperextend. Letting the breath be steady, pressing that big toe of the standing foot into the floor. We're really strengthening the glute on that standing leg. And then as you're ready, if you're still in your pose, coming out of it slowly with control, we might lift that right knee, lifting that thigh, challenging your balance a little more. Slowly setting that right foot down. And again, a little bit of counter movement. So for some of us, it feels good to add in some big hip circles, or you might want to just twist from side to side. A move that one of my students along the way told me was bored 9-year-old, so that's what I call this, bored 9-year-old. Or you can maybe say bored 5-year-old, 6-year-old. Pick a favorite kid in your life. And then shaking the arms out. So we're getting ready to come back to the floor. We've done a lot of work, we've created a lot of movement, and now we're going to give ourselves that little reward for all of that. Big breath in, palms can touch. And then exhaling, bringing the right hand down to the thigh, or it can be on the hip, and left hand reaching for the sky. Finding a little bit of lateral flexion before we lower to the floor. Then reaching that right arm up. We'll exhale, left hand down, either to the thigh or to the hip as we reach the right hand up. We'll do one more time to each side. Inhaling, and then exhaling. Turning your gaze in either direction. Inhaling up, and then exhaling to lower that left arm. So we're creating a nice amount of space through the torso. Inhaling up this time. And as we exhale, deep knee bend as we come into our swan dive. Walking the feet up underneath us. We're coming into a camel pose. So we're coming into a kneeling posture. It can be with toenails flat on the floor. We can tuck the toes under. Making fists, so bringing hands with fingertips pointing down. And we'll start to bring the hips forward as we open through the chest and shoulders, maybe letting our gaze come slightly up without dropping the head all the way back. We want to keep a safe space between the chin and the chest. And if you find yourself having any difficulty swallowing here, then bringing the chin a little closer. Opening and expanding through the chest and the front of the shoulders. And then exhaling to come out of this. We're slowly bend forward, bringing hands onto the floor, maybe finding a cat pose or shifting your hips into child's. So from here, we're going to come into a pose that's oftentimes called toes pose, and you might want your blocks nearby. So this really is going to stretch out the bottoms of the feet. It's very good for anybody who has plantar fasciitis, or if you do a lot of walking or standing. We'll tuck all 10 toes under. So it might be a little tricky, especially for the baby toes. And this right here might be too much. So if this is too much, you can lift up. Other options would be to maybe take a towel or a block between the calves and your thighs. But if it feels okay, sitting back. And you're going to feel this probably pretty intensely, especially if you've never done this before, or if you do a lot of those activities that I mentioned. But we're really getting into stretching out the bottoms of the toes, stretching into the fascia on the bottoms of the foot, the plantar fascia. And again, anytime you need to, lifting up and out, or you can bring your hands to your blocks. That's why I have them in the front. But if it feels okay, if it's that comfortable level of being uncomfortable, if we can stay here and breathing with it for just a few moments. Relaxing the shoulders and the jaw. So we might notice if this is particularly challenging, the shoulders might be hunching up, but relaxing them down, maybe wiggling around the muscles of the mouth and the jaw. And if you're still hanging out here, we'll do just 1 or 2 more breaths right here in this pose. And then to come out of this, either bring your hands to your blocks, or you can bring your hands to the floor. And then what I like to do is just tap out the tops of the feet, bring some circulation back into the toes. And now we're going to counter this. We're going to stretch out the front of the shins and the ankles. So we'll walk our hands back, lifting through the chest. So we're getting a nice opening once again for the chest and the shoulders. And this might be enough. If this is, stay right here. And only if you want a little bit more, maybe lifting the knees away from the floor. If that's too much, if your ankles are screaming at you, lowering those knees all the way back down. Honoring what your body's telling you right now. And then really slowly we'll come out of this. We'll walk hands forward and we'll shift onto our bottoms. If you have a block nearby, keeping it close, or you can have a couch cushion or a pillow. And we're going to lower onto our backs, bringing these into the chest. So it might feel really good after all the work we've done. You can rock side to side or maybe make some circles with the knees. If you'd like, lifting the feet towards the sky, we come into happy baby pose. Knees are wider than the hips. You can hold on behind the thighs, the calves, or you can reach for the bottoms of the feet. You might even take your 2-piece fingers around the big toes, or draw the knees down outside of the ribs, towards the armpits. Inviting the hips down to the floor. And I really like having my hands on the bottoms of my feet, using the strength of my arms to draw those knees down. Either staying still like a dead bug, or you can rock side to side like a happy baby. Bringing feet down to the floor. We'll lift both hips up and over to the right side, dropping knees to the left side, finding a really nice easy twist, opening the right arm out to the side. Left arm can open as well. You might have your arms in a T shape, or you can bring that left hand to the top thigh and turning your chin away from the legs. Spiraling from the belly button to the chest. And then turning the head if that feels appropriate. And again, anytime we involve the head and neck, always being very mindful of any type of painful sensation. So if this is too much for the head and neck, you can turn your head in the opposite direction or up towards the sky. One more breath. So we'll very slowly bring the knees back towards the sky, and then lifting the hips up and over to the left edge of the mat now, we'll drop our knees to the right side. Taking that twist. And as we're twisting here, you might notice the breath and the body starting to slow down. You might choose to close the eyes. Feeling that gentle massage in the belly as we breathe in and breathe out, getting that diaphragmatic breath once again, that 3-part breath. And as the breath moves, we are massaging out the internal organs. And one last breath here in this twist. And bring knees back to center. You can come to a knees to chest position, or if you'd like, we could come into a supported bridge pose, taking our block or our pillow or anything else that you have for support, maybe a rolled up towel, placing it underneath the sacrum. So at the beginning of practice, we were going through a flowing bridge. Now we're in a nice restorative version of bridge pose, allowing the body to be held and supported. And then if you'd like, you could either extend one or both legs to get a nice stretch for the hip flexors. For some of us, this will feel really good because, again, we get really tight in this area from sitting a lot or for walking or running. You might choose to stay here, or if you'd like, you could bend the knees and then lift the feet to the sky, coming into legs up the wall, or a variation of legs up the wall. And this is one of my favorite poses because we get to reverse the flow of the blood and the lymph. This is great for anybody who is on their feet a lot. It's also very helpful if you're having a difficult time falling asleep. Some people will do this every night before bed, or you're just having a difficult time sleeping. I've already done it where I was in my bed and flipped my legs around and got them up on the wall next to my pillow. We're only going to be here another breath or two, but honestly, if you have the time throughout your day, you might come into this pose for 5 minutes or even up to 20 minutes. If this is uncomfortable though with the knees bent or the knees more straight, you could have the knees bent more, or you could even bring your legs into a butterfly pose, the knees out to the side. So if our legs were extended or they're up in the sky, we'll come back into a bent knee position. We'll lift our hips, taking away any support that we might have. And we'll start to make any final movements. So if your body needs any last little bit of movement or stillness, there's one last pose that your body wanted, and coming to that place. And then we'll all come into final relaxation. So basically where we started, or maybe choosing something a little different. Knees could be bent, with knees dropping in towards each other, or the legs could be extended into more of a traditional Shavasana. And if your legs are extended, maybe having the feet wider than the hips, letting the feet flop out to the sides. Arms can be out to the side as well, with the palms facing up in a gesture of receiving. And coming back to that Sankalpa, or that intention that you set for your practice, maybe repeating it silently to yourself once again. So maybe I am relaxed and at ease, or any other intention that you set. Feeling the body being held and supported, giving ourselves permission to relax and to let go here. Feeling the ground rising up to meet your body. Allowing the eyes to be heavy in their sockets. Softening all the muscles of the face and jaw. Feeling as the shoulders drop into the earth. choosing to stay here in your body relaxation, or if you'd like, beginning to bring some movement to the body. If legs were long, you can bend the knees and roll over to one side. Pressing the top hand into the earth. And coming into a comfortable seat, elongating the spine. So lifting up and out of that tailbone, letting the crown of their head reach tall. Bringing your hands together at the space of the heart. Bowing the chin to the chest. Bowing our egos to our heart. And once again, offering a moment in gratitude for this body, on this mat, and on this day. The divine light within me honors the divine light within you. Namaste. Thank you so much for allowing me to lead your practice today. Have a wonderful day.